Muslims are labeled as terrorists. No Muslim should ever terrorize a single human being, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. It is not allowed in Islam that we should terrorize any innocent human being. Many a time, two different labels are used for the same activity of that same individual. For example, the country where I come from, India, more than 60, 70 years before, we were ruled by the British government, by the Britishers. Many Indians, they were fighting for their freedom. These people, by the British government, they were called as terrorists. But the common Indians, we call them as freedom fighters, as patriots. Same people, same activity, two different labels. If you agree with the view of the British government that they had a right to rule over India, you have to call these people as terrorists. But if you agree with the view of the common Indians that the Britishers came to India to do business, they had no right to rule over us, then you would call these people as freedom fighters, as patriots. Same people, same activity, but two different labels. And such examples, you can give in human history several examples. For example, we know about the American Revolution, which took place in the 18th century. 1776, they got the freedom. Benjamin Franklin and George Washington, by the British government, they were called as terrorists. But the same people, Benjamin Franklin and George Washington, by the common Americans, they were called as heroes, as freedom fighters, as patriots. Same people, same activity, two different labels. Later on, this very terrorist, George Washington, becomes the president of USA. Imagine a terrorist becoming the president of one of the most advanced country today in the world, America. And he sets an example to all the future presidents to come, including George Bush today. His hero is who? George Washington. He was called a terrorist by this government. Imagine. All the presidents, they look up to George Washington, who was a terrorist. And now, we find that both the countries are the best of friends, imagine. Therefore, before you give a particular label to any person, you have to first try and find out for what reason, for what cause is the person striving. We have the example of Nelson Mandela. Before South Africa got its freedom, previously it was ruled by the white apartheid government. They called Nelson Mandela as a terrorist, and they arrested him and they imprisoned him in Robben Islands for more than 25 years. Later on, he's released and he becomes the president of the new South Africa. And later on, he gets the Nobel Prize for Peace. Imagine, the ex-terrorist is getting the Nobel Prize for Peace. Therefore, before agreeing with anything, first we have to check up. As Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Hujurat, chapter 49, verse number 6, whenever you get information, check it up before you pass it on to the third person. Check up the information. Why is the person calling him for? Is it the fact? Is it right? It may be right. It may not be right. I'm not saying that all the people who are labeled terrorists are good human beings. They may be good, they may be bad. They may actually be terrorists who have been terrorizing innocent human beings. But before we agree with any information, we have to first check up whether that information is right or wrong.